We have State Representative Sarge Pollock here with us on this month's edition of Farm to Frankfort. Representative Pollock, it's great to have you with us here today. Kick it off, just tell us a little bit about yourself, what district you represent, and just kind of about who you are.
All right, well, thank you, Kyle. It's a pleasure to be here today with you and Eddie, and I'm excited for the opportunity. I am, my real name's Michael Pollock, but nobody really knows my real name, and I've been called Sarge since I've been 4 years old. My grandfather earned it in World War II in Korea, so obviously being loud and big as I am, it kind of fits. I grew up on a farm. We raised hogs and corn and beans and that sort of thing. My dad was a retired Meade County RECC guy, so we used the farming tobacco to obviously offset some of the income to help out. So just always been there. My family as a whole. My uncle was a dairy farmer, and my grandfather was just an overall farmer who basically lived off the farm, whether it was a garden, the milk cows, the hogs. I mean, it was a big day in the family when we killed hogs, and it was a big family get together. And so that's kind of how I grew up. I've always been involved in sports there in Breckinridge County, which is where I was raised, right there on the Meade County line. And so sports was a big deal. FFA was a big deal. Gave me a lot of opportunities in leadership and just doing everything that FFA presents and offers people. So went to Campbellsville College on a baseball scholarship. Eddie, I'm the all-time winningest pitcher as of today.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So I was a baseball pitcher,
awesome.
and so met my wife. We've got two beautiful girls. One's a pharmacist, one is a speech therapist. They're both married. My oldest one has two grandchildren, and so they're the reason I signed up to be the state representative. I refereed high school basketball, and I was like, you know what? I've always gotten involved in stuff instead of sitting in the bleachers and complain and gripe and so that sort of thing. So I decided to put my name on the ballot. My dear friend Bam Carney went through a health issue, passed away, and it presented the opportunity for me to earn and serve and carry that baton that Bam Carney had carried over the years. And so it's a privilege to continue that there in Taylor County, which is where I've been at. Actually, my wife Susie and I will have our 35th wedding anniversary this coming up.
Hope you got that right.
I know.
If you didn't get that right, Sarge, you know the answer to that is you've not been married nearly long enough. That's the answer. Don't do the years. So.
But I have been truly blessed in so many ways. And so, I've been in the insurance business, actually, as you all know.
We're glad of that. We're glad of that, too, that you understand the insurance industry, too.
And it's funny you say that. We've got a few people dabbles in the General Assembly in the insurance world, but I think I'm the fully licensed one that's active on an everyday basis in the General Assembly. I went the independent route. Actually, John Sparrow and Farm Bureau hired me right out of at an early age. I was planning to go to Bowling Green with Mike Reynolds and his agency. Things didn't work out. We got homesick, wanted to stay in Campbellsville, and so that's pretty much it, Kyle. This is my, I guess, third session that I have served as the House of Representatives for Taylor County and Marion County.
Yeah. And, we had our legislative drive-in this year, and it became a joke because Anne Marie, who lobbies for our insurance company, myself, Eddie spoke, Commissioner Jonathan Shell spoke, and it's like everything we were talking about, we'd be like, and this bill sponsored by Representative Pollock, and that bill. And we had some Taylor County and Marion Countyans coming up after that, and they're like, does anybody else sponsor y'all's bills? But no, great to have you in the General Assembly.
Well, thank you.
We're very appreciative of you and then all of the members of the General Assembly. I know we're wrapping up session. It's been a great session for Kentucky Farm Bureau, but you were certainly a big part of that as well.
Well, thank you so much. And again, it's communication. I think is being transparent to your constituents, to the mayors, the county judges, obviously, Kentucky Farm Bureau. Funny, when I did my bill on the floor, I said the Kentucky Farm Bureau, and so and that is true. I mean, Farm Bureau has just been always there for agriculture, our farmers, and it's just a strong partner of all kinds of areas throughout the state.
We just appreciate your service, and again, being willing to work with us on things. You carried some things that for us this year that were very near and dear to us and for our members. And of course, you know how we get our policy, that grassroots. It comes from our counties or our advisory committees. And the one bill that you carried this year for us was House Bill 418. That's those agriculture districts, lowering that from 250 acres down to 50 acres. And we do appreciate your willingness to take that bill and run with it. You did a great job with it. Our members, I think that will probably prove to be a good piece of legislation in protecting prime farmland. It's an initiative we've taken on this year. But I think if you get around those urban areas or as land, as farms, people buy those farms, being able to protect them from that annexation and lowering that from 250 acres. It's hard to put 250 contiguous acres together now, especially around urban areas, larger towns, and we've got young farmers, beginning farmers, farmers markets, people that are putting those things in place. Hard to get 250 acres that you can get contiguous. So with your help, got it passed, got it signed. We're good to go on it. So lower it down to 50, and hopefully our membership out there can now get those smaller tracts of land and involved in an ag district. There's no downside to it. No. Once you get it in, if you need a piece of it out, you can get it out. I just want to thank you personally for taking that on for us this year and working through that bill with us.
Well, it was an honor for me to carry that bill, working with Kyle, working with you. You know, and you're exactly right, Eddie. When you talk about farmland, that's one of the big things we're trying to look at different bills to protect farmland.
That's right.
And land is, it's precious to us all. And typically now, this day and time, when you're talking 250 acres, you're probably thinking of a family farm that's been trickled down through the generations. So this particular bill here really grabbed my attention. Is for that young farmer who can handle those 25 or 50 acres and then putting it together. And so, I was super excited and obviously enjoyed the process of that. And again, you being right there with me in committee meetings and then headed over to the Senate. It made sense. Everybody was good with it, and it was a good piece of legislation.
We just appreciate it, and you made it pretty simple to go through, and I don't think we had much opposition to the bill at all, did we?
No, we didn't.
Went through pretty easy, and again, with your leadership doing that, we just appreciate it. And it's always good for me, and I've watched several of these in my time in Farm Bureau, when something starts at the grassroots level and it comes through our process, and then we get someone like you to take that up and take it and go through the legislative process, and now it's going to become the law of the land. And here we go, and we see how it will protect agriculture, and it's just exciting for me to get to see us do those things.
Well, it is me as well. I mean, and you mentioned it, Eddie. Process, and it is a process when you're talking about getting a bill through legislation, and again, you've got to do your homework. That's where Kyle comes in, does his homework, meeting and greeting with all the different players and interested parties, and then just making sure everybody's on the same page, making sure everybody understands and communicates what this specific bill is going to do. And when they understand that and they know that it's going to protect that farmland, that young farmer, it's a win-win.
That's right. And every bill, no matter how good we think it is, there's always somebody out there that might disagree, but we were fortunate on this one to have you as a great bill sponsor, have some great co-sponsors, and those early conversations, and it was good to get everybody on board early, like you say, and you helped champion it across in the House, Chairman Howe in the Senate, so it was a great bill, and like Eddie said, signed into law. So we're glad for that to be the law of the land come, I guess, July 1.
I guess we get the people sign up to go to their conservation districts and sign up for an ag district. If you've got 50 contiguous acres, go to the conservation district and sign up on July 1. Let's get going on it.
Let's do it.
Right.
Let's
get them
start
signed up.
Protecting that farm.
That's right. So there was a lot of issues. I think over 1,100 bills or nearly 1,100 bills filed. What was kind of House Bill 418, like Eddie mentioned, that was a priority for us. What were some other kind of big issues for the General Assembly this session?
Well, obviously, this was a budget year, and on the House side in the Constitution, we have to present a budget. We got that completed, and we think overall it was a really solid, outstanding budget that met the needs and the priorities throughout the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Yeah, and a priority for us, it's been a priority since the early 2000s, has been protecting 50% of that master settlement agreement money to the Ag Development Board, and you all maintain that again this session, and we're so thankful for that.
Yeah, I mean, along with that, I mean, you're talking about education, you're talking about child care, Medicare. There's a lot of different, or Medicaid, there's a lot of different angles. And again, this year we looked at House Bill 6 was the actual budget, what you were pretty much talking about. Then what we ended up doing, simply because of the budget trust fund that we've got set back, doing some things, it provided an opportunity to create what we called House Bill 1, and that's one-time funding.
Right.
And so then that was targeting certain projects. The project in
Livestock
Woodford County.
Innovation Center.
Yes.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about that. That was $11 million investment, one-time investment for that Livestock Innovation
Each year,
Center.
$22 million.
Is that right?
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
overall,
Yeah,
we've got so much thrown at us, but I saw that it hit me pretty good. There was another one talking about $20 million for
River
the
ports.
The river ports. That's
and
important to us. That
Yeah.
was a great win there.
Yeah, that was a new issue. Well, it's not a new issue, and we've had it in policy for a while, but we started hearing more and more about it from our membership at the grassroots level, and it, ultimately in December at our annual meeting,
They did.
and became a priority issue to increase funding for our river ports, and because it impacts more than just those river counties. When you look at, and we've talked about it a lot on this show and a lot around the state, when you look at like Taylor County, it's not on the river,
Right.
but there are a lot of fertilizer products that are shipped upriver that end up at a port and ultimately comes inland to counties like Taylor, to their ag retailers, that ultimately all farmers, not just row crop, cattle, forage guys, they also use those type of products that come in from a river and then can get inland to our ag retail stores and to our farmers. So it impacted much more than just the counties that contain a river port. So we think that was very important investment to help agriculture.
We do too. That's why we made it happen.
That's right. There you go.
For sure. Another just obviously we talk a lot in Frankfort is the large animal veterinarian.
Right.
We designated a specific bill to help hopefully attract those veterinarians who are graduating to come back into the state of Kentucky.
Right.
Yeah.
A loan forgiveness bill is what we're looking at, and if you qualify, and there's some qualifications and things like that, but if you do, you're looking at some loan forgiveness, student loans is what we're talking about, for you to come back and start practicing and providing that opportunity for our large animal vets.
And
So,
in rural Kentucky.
in rural Kentucky overall. So we're excited about that.
We just appreciate you looking out for agriculture in rural communities. I know you've got a big job. It takes a lot of work to be able to do the things that you do, and representing your district, but also looking at all the other needs that are out there. And those are hard jobs. And I just appreciate you serving in the legislature, and because I'm sure there's days when you go home, and from my understanding that you were a high school referee. So when that got too tough, you decided to run for the state legislature, right? When the parents were getting on you being a high school referee, it got too tough, so you became a state legislature. Which one's harder?
Well, that's a great point. I tell you, high school refereeing kind of got me ready for politics, I think, so to speak. I did referee my first year serving, and it was kind of a unique opportunity because, getting off the floor, because you never know what that looks like, and then making it to the games, I was like, all right, time out. I enjoyed the refereeing part of it, but wow, the impact of being a state representative, not only for my district, you mentioned it, across the state, is just being the eyes and ears for the insurance industry. For me, and my comfort zone is farming. I mean, I grew up on that. And so that's the thing we want to try to be, is that expert, knowing that, those fields, whether you're a nurse, whether you're, a school administrator, all these different ones. I mean, we've got 100 in the House of Representatives that serve. So it's a huge, big deal. But to answer your question, Eddie, you got to have some tough skin, not only refereeing basketball, but also serving as a state representative.
That's right.
So,
we do appreciate your service.
Absolutely.
And all the legislators, because again, we need good people to step up and serve and put yourself out there, because it's hard sometimes to put yourself out there and run for an office like this. What it puts your family, you're away from your family and do all those things. So we're very appreciative to you and all of our state legislators for what they do.
Absolutely. And you mentioned kind of having your specific background growing up in agriculture and then working in the insurance industry, and you're the vice chair of the Banking and Insurance Committee. So what a few issues that kind of came through that committee and you kind of worked on in that realm?
I serve as the vice chair of Banking and Insurance. I also serve on the Agricultural Committee along with the Tourism Committee. I work a lot with David Beck up in Louisville at the Fair and Exposition Center, whether it's tourism and the things that he's doing. And so it fits for my district. When you talk about Taylor County and Green River Lake, when you talk about Marion County and the Bourbon Trail, that's tourism dollars. Absolutely. And then obviously that whole area of central Kentucky is farmland. And just that farming community is a huge, huge deal for all of us back home. Obviously serving in 23 years of the independent agent, that expertise there that I hope I have created over the years I can bring to policies. And so we got a lot done. I got the opportunity to sponsor 3 or 4 bills that I think will make an impact on a lot of things. One of them I'll mention is fortified roofs. Yeah. We've had, obviously, feel like we're the tornado alley anymore these last 5 years of what that looks like. Fortified roofs is something that you hear and see around the hurricane states, but now with all we're getting up here and the claims and those type of things, we got to figure out ways that we can offset some type of claim cost. And so the fortified roof program is a $5 million insurance trust fund. That it's a restricted fund, but it's not. It's something that we're going to use to pilot and get contractors certified, and then basically to provide that opportunity for roofs to substand, keep it from getting wet, really trying to minimize the cost of a claim. Absolutely. Are we going to keep every shingle on 70-mile-an-hour winds on our roofs? No. Right. But the structure that we put in there, hopefully we can keep everything dry until we can get the roofs fixed.
And the program's designed to help a homeowner voluntarily apply. So it really is a consumer bill as well. Like it helps that consumer if that's important to them, and it certainly is. It helps that homeowner if they want to apply and voluntarily go through the fortified roof program, they can do so.
They can, and that goes through the Department of Insurance. We talk about consumer protection. We call it Senate Bill 29. Glass breakage. Obviously, we're no deductible. We've got some bad actors, so to speak. It's come in the state of Kentucky and has gotten people to assign their benefits over to these bad actors, and it's causing some big issues. So we got to protect our people here in Kentucky.
It's that member out there that's paying that premium, and that's what you're trying to do is keep those premiums as low as you can, because when you've got these bad actors out there, it raises premiums because that's how the insurance industry works. And you well know that more than anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are a couple things, but there's a ton more. But the bottom line is we try to find ways, whether or not you're getting spam mail in from all these different finance companies and all this stuff. We targeted that a little bit this year. So
good. Eddie mentioned just, saying thank you to all the legislators, yourself included, putting your name out there. And in Kentucky, we always say it's a part-time legislature, but it's a lot more than just part-time, as you well know. But, our policy process really it's year-round, but it really kicks off now and into July at our policy development sessions. But you'll be done, April 15th. But then interim joint committee meetings start up June, where we're really tackling a lot of the issues that passed. What will there be? Close to 100 bills or close to that will pass. And just about every single one of those will be discussed between June and December. So, you're not in every day. You can't vote on things, but the interim is certainly where kind of the meat and potatoes, the devil's in the detail, where all that stuff really gets hashed out. So,
It
I mean,
does.
it's much more than just a part-time gig, isn't it?
You know, and no doubt, and obviously you don't know until you sign up for it. I served on a couple of task force, and that's what you're talking about, Kyle.
Yeah.
Through the interim, we have task force, whether it's, last year I served on the city-county tax annexation task force. And those meetings went on all summer long and led up to session, and thank the Lord we all came in an agreement on that city-county tax annexation. And everything turned out to be okay on that. But those are things, whether it's a jail task force, those are different things that we have to have discussions other than just what's going on in session, along with our committee meetings. So it's a lot of information that comes into us throughout the interim. But you're right. Last year I was on my 4 committees. I also serve on the Government Contract Review Committee. And so out of those, 25 days of work, I was up there 15 of them in the interim. So along with different conferences that you get involved with across the state, across the country.
Yeah.
And so those are a lot of things, because we got to bring models back here when we're talking about insurance and those type of things, what it looks like across the state. So, it is full time. But I want to say this too, as far as what I've learned. And again, this is my 3rd session. But it does, and Eddie mentioned this a while ago, it's a process, but more importantly, it's a teamwork process, and it takes everybody involved making good policy to be the best that we can be here in the state of Kentucky. Speaker Osborne mentioned this, and I'll never forget it when I first got there. He says, we want the Commonwealth of Kentucky to be a great place to raise a family, a great place to work and live. And so whatever that looks like, whether it's a state income tax return coming down, a lot of those things, but we have to make good policies to protect the farmer, protect our constituents from the bad actors and from things that are going on. And that's our ultimate goal, is to make this place and our homes and our communities the best it can be.
Absolutely.
I have one thing I'd like to say to you before we close out today. But I know that knowing Representative Bam Carney, a good friend of ours, good friend of Farm Bureau, I know he'd be proud of the job you've done representing your district and what you've done. He was a great legislator, and again, I know he was a true friend of yours.
Yeah.
I know he'd be proud today of the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you, Eddie, and those are some big shoes to fill. And
Absolutely.
I stay in contact. Ethan called me, his son called me yesterday, just touching base on some stuff, legislation and all. But I'm in contact with his family and all. And you're exactly right. Bam gave everything to represent him, being the great state representative that he was, and that's who Bam Carney was. He gave everything he had in whatever he did. And
That's right.
I appreciate those words. Thank you, Eddie.
Yeah, as he was a basketball coach as well, wasn't he? Did he ever yell at you?
Well, I
whenever-
refereed some of his basketball games, and yes, he would yell at me, and I just, of course, we were brothers, on the court or off, and
That's great.
I'd yell back at him, he'd yell at me, and that's just how we did things.
Yeah. Hey, Sarge, well, thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you.